Well, hello and welcome to our program. This is a new venture for us. When I was doing my Friday night live stream, and I was beginning to realize that I was going to have to slow down and not be able to do the program anymore. So many of you asked that I keep doing the philosophizing. So I gave some thought to that, and I came up with a little format, and I thought, well, we can do a song, we can philosophize, and we can close out with a song. And that'll be a neat little 15, 20-minute program. And we can also comment, make your comments underneath. All of those of you who knew each other in the chat room, we can still talk to each other in the comments. It's not live stream, but you can comment to each other, and we can keep up with each other and let each other know how we're doing and that sort of stuff. But anyway, I just wanted to explain that to you. I won't be explaining that in every program. We'll just get right down to it once I sort of do 2 or 3 of these and figure out the best way to do it. But for right now, tonight we're going to talk about the love of God. 2 things signify the love of God to me in ways beyond what. One is the cross. Can you imagine what Jesus did for us? Could you do it? I couldn't, not voluntarily. But he gave his life in the most cruel way you can imagine. So for our first song tonight, I was going to tell you 2 things: the cross and God's amazing grace. Those 2 things, that's our salvation in a way, if you stop and think about it. Jesus gave his life on the cross to get our attention. It's more than that, much more than that, but it got our attention. And that is why Jesus we look on him with such admiration and respect. And, what he taught us, truth will withstand scrutiny. And what he taught us is still with us 2,000 years later because it is the truth. And as I said, we're going to talk about the love of God. So we'll go ahead and do a song, and then I'll do some philosophizing, and then we'll wind up. But our 2 songs tonight, we're going to do The Old Rugged Cross, and we're going to do Amazing Grace. In the middle there, I'll philosophize a little more. But anyway, our first song tonight, The Old Rugged Cross.
Stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. And I love that old cross, where the dearest and best for a world of lost sinners was slain. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. That old rugged cross, so despised by the world, has a wondrous attraction for me. For the dear Lamb of God left his glory above to bear it to dark Calvary. I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. That old rugged cross, stained with blood 'Twas on that old cross Jesus suffered and died to pardon and sanctify me. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. To the old rugged cross I will ever be true, its shame and reproach gladly bear. Then he'll call me someday to my home far away, where his glory forever I'll share. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. I'll exchange it someday for a crown.
You know, when you think about the love of God, it is beyond belief what Jesus did. He said, no greater love hath any man than to lay down his life for a friend. He laid down his life for all of us. If we just pay attention to the things he told us, your first 4 books of the New Testament, rest of the Bible is important, but those 4 books, that's what everything is based on. Jesus was the main dude. Okay? There's there's the disciples, there's these great people in the Bible and all that kind of stuff. They were not Jesus. Jesus was where the teaching come from. This is why we call ourselves Christians. To be a Christian is to be Christ-like. None of us will ever achieve that goal, but that is what we strive for. And to be Christ-like, we do the things that he taught us. Okay. That tells you about the love that he had for us, that he would allow himself to be crucified. That's beyond belief. I can't wrap my head around that. But he did. But when they asked him, you know, they were always testing him. They were always asking him questions, or trick questions, this and that. And so they figured, well, we'll get him to see which one of his favorite commandments which were one of his favorite commandments, and thinking that, you know, what they do then is if he placed more importance on one than the other, they could get some consternation going about all that, you know, and get people all riled up because he didn't say the other one or this, that. No, he outsmarted them as he always did. He said, you can take the 10 commandments and you reduce them down to 2. Those of you that have studied some biblical things and you know the 10 commandments, you know that the first 4 commandments have to do with your relationship to God. The last 6 commandments have to do with our relationship to each other. He said, there's only 2 commandments, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but you'll know what I'm saying. Love God and love your fellow man. He didn't say love your fellow man if they're the right color, or the right religion, or the right nationality, or the right this or that. He didn't say that. He said, love each other as I have loved you. Well, he gave the ultimate sacrifice. How do we love each other that much? Well, we try to have unconditional love for each other. Now, we don't necessarily have to love the evil things. There's some people that's just evil. We don't have to love what they do, but we have to love them. We have to have some understanding and some tolerance. We have to love people that are not easy to love. Stop and think about this. Stop and think about it. The people that are hard to love are the ones that most need our love. They're the ones that need love the most. Something has happened in their life where something's not right, where they have trouble loving somebody or loving others. So we have to show them a love that maybe in some way, somehow, a light bulb will go off and they'll start to realize, wait a minute, I like the way that feels when that person's around, or something like, what is it about that person that makes them different? What is it about that person that makes me like them being around? Well, people start to figure this stuff out. And anyway, the ones who need love the most are usually the hardest to love, but they're the ones we got to love and understand and try to tolerate. There's just some people you don't want to be around, and I guess that's just the way that is. But you can still show them a certain amount of love and respect if you have to be around them. But anyway, we are to love each other as Jesus loved us, or as God loved us. We allow, I'm afraid, we allow the politicians, and there's religion and there's religiosity. And politics and religiosity, the people who lead those movements, they are just simply using the politics and the religion to divide us. They're not using it for what it should be. Government should be where it gives us a set of laws that we all live by so that we can live together and in disagreement, because we're never going to agree on everything. So there has to be a rule that is set that we all agree to go by. Once we quit agreeing to go by those rules, we have chaos. We don't always like the rules, but there's a reason that they're there. There's a reason that there's a speed limit. There's a reason that we can't do certain things, because it endangers everybody else, We can't just have everything our way. Sometimes we have to compromise. Not something we like to do, but sometimes we have to do that because we don't all agree on everything. But I'm going to try to wrap this up. Just remember, Jesus loved us so much, he gave his life for us. And then it focuses us back on him and his teachings are that we are to love each other as he has loved us. If you do that, if your heart is such that you love others just as much as you love yourself, right? That's a tough one. We're all a little bit selfish. And I guess there's some need for that, because it's better for us to take care of ourselves so that somebody else doesn't have to. So we do have to spend a little more time doing our own hair instead of somebody else's hair in the morning, So there is that. But basically, we should all try to work together and love each other and work toward common goals. Quit letting all this politics and all this religiosity stuff divide us. I'm not saying there's a difference between religiosity and religion, so don't try to put words in my mouth that I didn't say. We should have a spiritual belief, and there should be some religion in our life. But this religiosity stuff, where ours is better than everybody else's, and nobody's going to heaven but me, and that's not that's not what this is all about. This is how to teach us how to love each other and get along with each other. If I love you, I'm not coming to your house and get your stuff. So the locksmith's going to go out of business. If you love me, same thing. I don't need locks on my doors. You're not coming to get my stuff. We're going to figure out how to get along, and even through our disagreements and that kind of stuff. But anyway, I just wanted to talk a little bit today about Jesus and how he loved us. And okay, now let's get down to the final thing. When the time comes for us all to be judged, it's going to have a lot to do with the condition of our heart. If we have loved our fellow man and tried to get along with people and tried to help people and that sort of thing, our ticket's stamped. I'll see you in heaven, you know. But for those places where we didn't quite get it right, God gave us this thing called grace. Thank God for his amazing grace.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun.
Well, thank you for being with us today, and I hope it's been enjoyable to you. I hope I'm not rambling too much. As most of you know, I had to stop doing the Friday night show because of not being able to form my thoughts and remember my facts and figures as well as I once could. And so some of these philosophizing segments, we may ramble a little bit, but we'll get the point across. And the point for tonight was that let's love each other. But I'm going to wind up my programs just like I did for the live show. Be kind to each other, and I'll see you on the next program.